Josh Spartan Reptiles, and tonight we're going to talk about the process that I use to feed my animals. It all goes from how do I thaw them out, and then how I actually what tools I use to feed them, and how I feed my smaller ones to my subadults, to my adults, to my breeders. So let's get going, and I hope everybody enjoys the video. So, as everybody can see, I do have my rats out, and I do actually in this box have pup rats. Sorry about the lighting there, for my smaller ones. And what I do to actually thaw my rodents out is I use these paint mixing jugs from Napa, and sometimes I use 2 jugs. It depends on how many I'm feeding. Of course, it is breeding season here, so I'm going to be using two of these buckets to thaw out rodents, so that way I can thaw out enough for the entire collection, plus a few extras for those adults that want a little extra. What I do is I use a little bit warmer than luke water, but still not too hot. It's definitely not hot to the touch. You can put your hand under it, and it wouldn't burn you. And what I do is I will actually thaw the rodents out in these buckets, and then once they're thawed out, I will actually drain the water, which I have another bucket right here. And as you can tell, I've actually drilled holes in it. And so what I do is I'll just dump the bucket into there. The rodents will stay in the bucket, and then the water will go down the drain. And then I'll refill the buckets with much warmer water to help bring the temperature of the rodents up, and then we'll go on to feeding. So as you can see now, I now have the rodents in the bucket, and they're beginning their thawing out process. I do line the bottom of the tote that I stick the buckets in with several layers of blue shop towels, and I do that just in case, I think that there's a little too much water on the rodent. I can set them there and then dab them dry with a couple other sheets of paper towels, which I always keep handy. Right there. And so now it's just time to wait. And it might be an eternity, it seems like sometimes. But another thing I do is I also bring up my Google Docs for our feeding chart. And as you can tell, I have the names of all my snakes, plus their genes, as far as what genetic trait they're carrying, food size, current dates that they've eaten this month so far. And so, yep, column F is going to be today's feedings. And so, I keep really, really stringent records on their feeding. And I do it on Google Docs, and I also print this out, so I always have a paper copy at the end of the month, too. Those paper copies are always a good thing to have as a backup. The one tool that I use when I feed my snakes, and a lot of other breeders do, tongs. I grab the rats by the scruff of their neck, introduce the rat into the tub. Some of them actually prefer to dangle from the tail. For some reason, that's the only way some of my snakes will do it. Big thing is knowing your animals. I have strike feeders. I have, as I call it, the dangle feeders. And then I also have drop feeders, where I just simply take the rat and place it in the tub and leave it for them for a while. And then I go back and check. If they didn't eat it, I get rid of the rat. So definitely get to know your animals, get to know their behaviors, how they feed, their feeding responses. And then, after I introduce the animal to the snake, the feeder, I will then put an attention tag on the bin, so that way I know I have to go back and check on that to make sure they ate, and then if they did, I document it. If they didn't eat it, I document it and then get rid of the rodent.